So welcome to our spoiler review of Shadow Kiss by Richelle Mead. What happens in book 3?
Well, we're still reeling from the events of book 2, where Rose's other best friend Mason is killed by Strigoi, and Rose kills a bunch of Strigoi, and so she's now one of the only students who has tattoos to say that I have killed Strigoi. And so she's happy to return to her usual life just as a student, and there's this big thing coming up. It's kind of like a field exam where each of the Dampiers gets assigned to a Morai and they have to guard them, and they're going to be teachers who are going to pop out and attack them, and it's just lots of fun.
Yeah, Rose is like, I got this. I am the best one here. I got this.
So she's basically gonna spend 6 weeks just chilling with Lissa. It's gonna be great, except it goes horribly wrong because instead of being assigned to Lissa, she is assigned to Christian. I love Christian.
Yeah, I do too.
Like, actually, I love him. He's great. He's fun.
You know, she throws a little hissy fit and she's like, oh, fine, whatever. I'll just do my job. I'll be good at it.
They tell her good, like, they make really good points. It's like, look, you and Lissa share a bond. You need to train with someone who you do not share a bond with, because what happens if you get reassigned and all of a sudden you're guarding this other person who you don't know how they feel or what's happening to them. They could be in danger. You would have no idea.
This is good training for you. This is a good thing for Lissa. Like, let's just do this and move on and be mature people. And she's like, okay.
And Lissa does get assigned to a very competent guardian.
Who she really likes.
Yeah. And they hang out as like a 4. And Lissa makes a good point. She's like, if you're guarding Christian, we're gonna be around each other a lot. Like, we're still gonna hang out.
Listen, this is not the worst thing that could happen. You could have been assigned to that asshole over there. Yeah. Rose is like, okay, fine, I got this. And then she's like, oh, okay, all right, I got this. We're going good, we're going good. Until the first time she gets attacked by one of the teachers, and the thing that she thought was just a hallucination, which was seeing her best friend Ghost Mason, actually starts to interfere with her life, because he like appears over the shoulder and she just like fixates on it. And she's just like, oh shit, we're under attack. And they're like, what the fuck happened?
You totally did this because you didn't want to protect Christian! You're an asshole!
And she's like, no, I can't tell you about the ghost thing because you will think I am crazy.
And so Dimitri comes to her rescue. She's put on half shift, so she doesn't have to spend the night with Christian anymore. Instead, she is told that she has to go and see a counselor because she is clearly suffering from PTSD. And Rose is like, no, I'm seeing ghosts, but I can't tell you that. But the therapist scenes I felt were very important because it starts to break down Rose's worldview, because her entire life has been, I am going to protect Lissa. And for the first time, someone is telling her, but what do you want? Like, your wants and your needs are valid, and that's going against years upon years upon years of conditioning of they are first, we protect them.
And, you know, it also kind of like works to solidify her relationship with Dimitri, because the therapist is like, okay, you've got this guy who you think you really love. Do you really love him, or is it just because you can't have him that you love him?
You're fixating on something.
And she's like, no, I'm not.
I'm pretty sure I really love him, but
thought about it.
Interesting point. Noted.
I thought about it and I've stopped thinking about it.
And so also Victor, the evil bastard from book 1, is being put on trial, so they're all freaked out that he might be let out of jail, and then he'll just totally revamp Plan A and go straight for Lissa. And so our group of characters are kind of stressed out, except for Adrian, who is just drunk.
I love him.
He's great.
He's my favorite. So Adrian, we met him in the last book. He's a spirit user. He and Lissa have been working together to, you know, get to know your spirit powers.
Which is causing some tension in Lissa and Christian's relationship.
Because Christian's jealous.
And, well, Christian's jealousy I found was I understood the fact that he's like, I am the weakest link in this. If she's gonna do awesome politically, my background is not good. Like, I come from a very strong bloodline, but the fact that my parents willingly turned Strigoi, people think I'm going to willingly turn Strigoi, so I am the big stain on her image. And certain people also agree with this. And Rose knows this, and she doesn't want to tell Christian because she doesn't want Christian to go into a crazy tailspin. And so Rose is spending all this time trying to keep Christian and Lissa from fighting.
Yeah, she's kind of like their middleman.
And that's stressing her out because she's like, hey, I just stopped you from having a big argument, but who's gonna thank me? Thanks, Rose. Thanks for saving the day.
At the same time, Lissa is using her magic, and, you know, all those negative things that were happening to her, where she was getting depressed because because of using her spirit magic, Rose is sucking that into her and it's affecting her. So she's having these mood swings where she's like, I'm just so angry all the time and just and frazzled and like not herself. And that's because she's sucking this darkness and she's taking it on herself. So not on top of like managing Lissa's life and, you know, trying to like deal with her repressed feelings and these ghosts, she's also having like these like mood swings and this darkness kind of enveloping her.
And Lissa doesn't notice at all because she's just too happily using magic. And Rose is just like, I want to tell you, but I don't because you're so happy.
On the one hand, you're like, okay, Rose never tells Lissa anything, and some of this is on her. But at the same time, you're like, Lissa
Never asks.
never asks, doesn't even think to ask. Like, she's kind of like, oh, what's up with you? Oh, nothing? Okay.
They really need to sit down and talk about something that isn't superficial. Like, you can see the strain in their relationship, which leads to the end, which we will discuss. But, okay, so they want to go to this trial, and Adrian pulls some strings because he has connections, and he gets them in, and Rose thinks it's Dimitri who did it, and then realizes it isn't, and that it was Adrian, and they're on a plane, and all of a sudden,
she gets hit.
all the ghosts appear and she has a raging headache and she screams and everyone's like, what is going on?
She's just like having like almost like a seizure being attacked by all these ghosts. And so it goes away when she gets on the ground, but it happens again on the way back.
And Adrian makes an interesting point. He's just like, your aura is really, really dark and black and bad. And so maybe this is something to do with you taking on Lissa's issues. That's why you're seeing things. The truth is, it's just another side effect of being shadow kissed because she can speak to the dead.
Yeah. There's this weird kind of thing where it's like, oh, you're killing more, so you're closer to death. And I'm like, that's a little weak, but
okay,
fine,
we'll
whatever.
run with it.
They get to the court and for the trial, Rose and Dimitri go in and they speak to Victor because he asked to speak to them. And he's like, oh, I'm not so bad now. You're fighting with the Morai on your side. That's what I wanted. And they're like, fuck you, buddy.
BTW, I'm gonna tell everybody that you two almost fucked.
And they're like, no, you're not.
He does drop like something statutory rape.
And nobody
Nobody,
pays
because
attention.
everybody's just like, oh, you're an asshole.
They get off with that one, but you know, he plants some like mind bombs, and you're like, this guy's clearly just going to escape at some point. Like,
also going on is there's this weird kind of like secret society growing at the school. It's a Morai thing. It's just like, oh, we must keep the bloodlines pure because there are the royal Morai and then there are like normal Morai, and so there are only so many Dampier bodyguards, and so they're kind of being distributed not just to the royals now, but also to like everyday folks, and that's upsetting the royal bloodlines, and so they're trying to
consolidate power.
And so they're trying to cause compulsion in their people, and they've realized that what they could do is if they torture you to the point where you explode, you gain your compulsion ability, because it's just like,
it's kind of like putting you through the fire so that you come out and you're like, you know, stronger, you figured out how to use the power a little bit better.
And so they approach Christian, and Christian's like, ha ha, no. They approach Lissa, and Lissa's like, ha ha ha, no. And they approach Lissa again, and she's like,
Lissa wanted information about the queen. So we'll back up for a second. So, you know, while they're going through Victor's trial and he gets convicted, blah, 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 not really important to the story, the queen approaches Lissa and she's like, listen, I got this deal for you. You know, you wanted to go to a good university. Well, I got this university right next door. You know, you can go there and, you know, it's bigger than you would normally get to go to and it'll be fine, but you gotta stay in the palace and, you know, do stuff. And Lissa's like, sure, it's fine. Good bargain. All right, I'll do it. And then the queen tells Rose in another meeting, she's like, stay away from Adrian, my nephew, because I'm totally going to marry him off to Lissa so that we can have more spirit users and breed and political connections and blah, 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 blah. And Rose is like, no, that's not gonna happen, honey. There's kind of been these rumors floating around in the back political courts of like, you know, the queen's plan. So Lissa kind of gets wind of it and she wants like actual information. So she goes to this group that's been doing these experiments or whatever you want to call it, these torture things, and is like, okay, I'll kind of go through with your initiation if you just tell me what the fuck you're doing. Does not go very well.
So what you find out is the fact that they're doing these things right along the border of the school, they're weakening the wards, and that is why Rose is seeing the ghosts, because the dead are coming through because the wards are weakening. Rose does not know that Lissa has agreed to do this, and all of a sudden she just gets hit by Lissa losing it and screaming and like attacking, and she runs in, and Lissa is using spirit magic to fight, and it's terrifying and dark and awful. Lissa wants to kill them, and Rose is just like, no, 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 you gotta calm down, you gotta calm down, and Lissa's not calming down, and Rose can feel through their bond just like this awful, horrible darkness, and she's like, no, stop, give it to me. And so she pulls it through the bond. Lissa's just like, oh wow, people are in pain, I must use my magic to heal them. And Rose is just like, what are you doing?
I'm going to rip their faces off their heads. Teachers come in and break up the fight, but Rose is still just freaking the fuck out. And Dimitri's like, this isn't you. Calm down, calm down.
And he manages to break her out of it. And then what do they do, Chelsey?
They fuck.
Reading this book, Dimitri is being more obviously sweeter to her. They're flirting more than we've seen, and I'm just like, you gonna die. When they go to the cabin and they have sex, I'm just like, well, that's it. You have signed your death certificate.
Your penis.
Yes. And so they're walking back, and it's just like, oh, I can't believe we did that. And she's just like, don't say that it was a mistake. And he's like, I wasn't going to. Like, I love you. And then there are Strigoi everywhere.
And immediately after the Strigoi attack. And you're like, yeah, well, I saw that one coming. Rose and Christian kick some ass.
Yes, they do, because Rose realizes that Lissa and Christian were going to meet up in their secret spot. But Christian was outside during the shutdown, and so he's out there by himself, and he probably went to the chapel, which is cool because the Strigoi can't go on holy ground, but Strigoi used to burn down religious buildings, so if he's in there and the Strigoi decide, oh, I'm gonna like kill you, they can. Rose tries to explain to Lissa that, you know, honey, there are a lot more victims that are easier to get to than just like, hey, look, there are like people running that way, or there's just one more eye in the church. But okay, I'll go rescue him.
And this is where I kind of was like, wait, Strigoi can't go on holy ground. Holy ground for a church usually isn't confined to the building.
No, it'd have to Molotov cocktail that shit.
Okay, and so the building is on fire. Leave the building.
Do a little
Stand
dance in front of
outside
them.
and watch it burn. They still can't get you. And then I'm like, wait, so they can't go on holy ground. Why is the whole school not consecrated? Like,
I don't know.
This is a big plot hole, guys.
She finds Christian, and it's like, okay, we'll go get you back. And Christian's like, why? We could do shit. And
We could do some really cool shit.
And she's just like, yeah! And so they go and they fight, and basically they take out a good chunk of the Strigoi.
Set him on fire, cut off the head. Set him on fire, cut off the head.
Then they realize that people are missing because the Strigoi have run off, and Rose is like, we have to save them, and this is not protocol.
Oh, number one, Eddie, the guy who was
Yeah.
protecting Lissa, who was Mason's best friend, who, you know, was in the last Strigoi lair attack, who's been, like, really cool throughout this whole book. He gets taken.
And so, you know, break protocol, we go on a trip, we're gonna go rescue them, it's gonna be awesome. And I'm like, okay, Dimitri survived this battle. This is it!
In the next
This,
one.
like, this is it. And so they go in and they get a bunch of the people out. They don't get everyone out, which I did kind of like because that would have been too perfect. But while they're leaving, the Strigoi have set traps and they get Eddie out, but in exchange for Dimitri.
And, you know, when they finally go back and look for his body, he ain't dead. Oh, he's clearly been turned into a Strigoi.
Rose has a bit of a meltdown. And by meltdown, she's just like, I have to go find him and kill him because he would want me to do this. He's lost his soul. And so she goes to Lissa and she's like, Lissa finally clicks and realizes that Rose and Dimitri were in love. And she's just like, oh, and she's like, you brought me back from the dead. Could you save him? And Lissa's just like, I can't do that. That goes against the order of things. And Rose is just like, can you just do this one thing? The man I love is like, and Liz is like, I'm sorry. And so Rose is like, fine, I gotta go kill him. I gotta do it. I can't. And then Lissa is just like, you love him more than me. And I'm just like, bitch.
She's like, you're abandoning me for him.
Okay, and on one hand, I always hate that kind of like, that narrative progression where you have your best friend and then, you know, you meet your love interest and there's the, okay, now you're with your love interest and you leave your friends behind because, you know, romance is more important than like friend love. But in this case,
that is not
what like Rose says to Lissa. She's like, I will come back. I just need to do this. And when Lissa kicks up a stink, Rose is just like, I have needs. I have things. My things are important too.
I need to do this. Like, it's not a question. Why are you being so selfish and trying to stop me if you won't help me? Listen. And so, you know, Lissa's like there weeping and Rose is just like, see ya. And quit school and off she goes.
End of book 3. It was kind of slow at the beginning, but I liked the end.
Yeah, like it wasn't awful. It's just probably my least favorite of the 3, I'd have to say.
You were trapped in Rose's head more. You were working through her headspace, which, given what has happened in the series up to this point, makes a lot of sense. She has a lot she has to work through. That's not why we read these books.
No.
We like the fun, and this was a lot more serious. And then when it finally, like the last third of the book, when it finally kind of became fun again, that's when it really picked up for me, because Rose was more like Rose. But I'm happy to see her like on a mission.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
She's probably gonna keep on character growing, like, great. Really still enjoying this series. Really still not as bad as we thought it was going to be. And I'm excited for the next one next year.
Year 4! So yeah, keep watching Vampire Month for some more wonderful things.
And we will see you guys later. Bye!